Pope Francis opened the Holy Door, and millions of faithful around the world answered his call. Becoming pilgrims of hope, spreading faith, mercy, and fraternity wherever they traveled.
It gives us a concrete reminder that we're not alone, that Christ is walking with us.
For millions, that journey led to Rome, where the faithful gathered for history in the making, as the Jubilee begun by Pope Francis was concluded by Pope Leo XIV.
We were like front row to see the Pope, and then we celebrated Mass with the Pope, and that was like maybe a once or twice in a lifetime opportunity.
While for others, the pilgrimage was closer to home, discovering that God walks with them in their own parishes.
It's a beautiful opportunity as a family and young adults to come and support our diocese and just to spread the love of God throughout the streets of Brooklyn and Queens. It's something truly meaningful for me.
Right now on Currents News, we look back at the 2025 Jubilee, because even as the calendar ends, the journey continues. Persichetti, and welcome to this special highlighting this amazing Jubilee year. For months, all around the world, Catholics became pilgrims of hope, spreading faith and fellowship wherever they went. The Holy Year officially ended in Rome on the Feast of the Epiphany, but the journey to the closing of those holy doors was one no one could have ever predicted.
With grateful hearts, let us prepare ourselves to close this holy door.
Pope Leo XIV began the Mass in St. Peter's Basilica with an ending, closing the holy door and officially finishing the Jubilee Year of Hope. It's an image that many knew was coming, but was different from what was imagined when the doors were opened on December 24th, 2024. At that time, Pope Francis was the Holy Father kicking off the celebration. He intended it to be a year to encourage Catholics to live in fraternity and help those in need.
Giubileo è per convertirsi, perché il nostro cuore divenga più grande, più generoso, più figlio di Dio.
Within a few weeks, hundreds of thousands had already traveled to Rome to pass through those doors, and even more would head to the Holy See to take part in Jubilee celebrations, like members of the NYPD who attended the Jubilee of the Armed Forces, police, and security personnel. But on February 14th, Pope Francis was hospitalized with double pneumonia, putting a temporary stop to the Holy Father's involvement in Jubilee celebrations. He was released a few weeks later and told to rest and recover away from the public. But the People's Pope couldn't stay away, making his first appearance since being discharged at the Jubilee for the sick and healthcare workers. Accompanied by his personal nurse, the Holy Father came out in a wheelchair and with oxygen tubes for the final blessing. The next big Jubilee event was set to come a few weeks later, when thousands were going to attend the Jubilee of Adolescence and the canonization of Carlo Acutis. Then the unexpected happened.
With deep sorrow, I must announce the death of our Holy Father, Francis.
Pope Francis returned to the Lord on April 21st. And while the Vatican continued with some of its Jubilee programming, the Holy Year temporarily took a backseat to a larger event, the election of Pope Leo XIV. Since being made the successor of St. Peter, Pope Leo dived headfirst into the Holy Year, including spending an unforgettable weekend with over 1 million young people during the Jubilee of Youth.
La pace sia con voi.
As Pope Leo closed the Holy Door and this rich chapter in church history, he encouraged the faithful to look to the Pilgrims of Hope who came to Rome just to cross this threshold.
What did they find? What was in their hearts? Their questions? Their feelings? Yes, the Magi still exist today. They are the people who sense the need to go out and search, accepting the risks associated with their journey, especially in a troubled world like ours that may be unpleasant and dangerous in many ways.
The Jubilee is a tradition with biblical origins dating back to the Old Testament in the book of Leviticus, the first Jubilee in the Catholic Church more than 700 years ago. For those who couldn't go to Rome before the end of the Jubilee, the Diocese of Brooklyn helped the faithful become Pilgrims of Hope right here at home. 6 parishes throughout Brooklyn and Queens were designated Jubilee Shrine churches. That meant if you visited them before the Feast of the Immaculate Conception on December 8th and fulfilled specific requirements like confessing your sins and receiving the Eucharist, you received a plenary indulgence and were freed from the temporal punishment for your sins. And just like in Rome, the diocese started the Jubilee with a massive celebration. This one was out on the streets of Brooklyn, where Catholics lived out their faith with joy and hoped to inspire others in the process. Parishioners from across the Diocese of Brooklyn packed the pews at the Cathedral Basilica of St. James on Sunday to help Bishop Robert Brennan usher in the Jubilee year.
It's a reminder of our connection to the greatest moment in time when God became human. The birth of Jesus.
This was one of 2 masses celebrated by the Shepherd of Brooklyn for the diocese's formal opening of the Holy Year, which also coincided with the Feast of the Holy Family. Marlene Sanchez was here with her family.
It's a beautiful opportunity as a family and young adults to come and support our diocese and just to spread the love of God throughout the streets of Brooklyn and Queens, I guess. It's something truly meaningful for me.
Marlene held hands with her family members as she walked through the streets of Brooklyn, following Bishop Brennan, who led a procession with the Blessed Sacrament from the Cathedral Basilica of St. James to the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph. Amid the sounds of the city, they prayed, stopping traffic and causing pedestrians to stop in their tracks to watch. Jillian Hunt didn't mind the attention.
Besides, we proclaiming that we are for Christ because He is the light of the world. Today is a day we come a little bit closer to Him and understanding what He really is about. He is the way, the truth, and the light.
And these pilgrims are holding that light close as we enter this Jubilee of hope.
It gives us a concrete reminder that we're not alone, that Christ is walking with us.
From that procession, the diocese had big plans for the Pilgrims of Brooklyn and Queens, including a trip to Rome to go through the holy doors. They were just some of the 33 million visitors who came to the Vatican during the Jubilee. That breaks down to more than 90,000 people per day. The period that saw the most people was during the Jubilee of Youth, which was from late July to early August, when more than 13 million people visited, including young people from the Diocese of Brooklyn who say they will never forget their up-close experience with the first American Pope. Currents News' Katie Vasquez reports.
Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens! Pilgrims from across the Diocese of Brooklyn spent 9 days in the Eternal City, joining together in prayer and fellowship with more than 1 million other young people.
It was very uplifting to see the praise and the worship throughout the streets of Rome, and it's my first time seeing this magnitude.
For Amy Vu, walking through the holy doors was an experience she will never forget.
It felt like spiritually nurturing, but it also sometimes I felt emotional from it.
J.P. Marasigan says his life-changing moment came before the body of Christ, when thousands upon thousands of other Jubilee pilgrims went silent.
It is a testament to everyone that says that young people aren't falling in love with Catholicism, to show them that, yes, we are.
Being so close to the first American Holy Father was a highlight for many.
It was so surreal. It was like, I couldn't believe that I was looking at the Pope.
We were front row to see the Pope. And then we celebrated Mass with the Pope, and that was maybe a once or twice in a lifetime opportunity.
But for Queens parishioner Felicity Morell, she was influenced by her time with Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan.
Knowing that he was there interacting with not only the other priests, but also all the young people, it was very comforting.
Now, these young people hope to share what they have learned with other faithful.
I think going to Mass every day and going to adoration that was led by the Pope at the vigil was amazing, and I really did feel like I did strengthen my love for the Eucharist.
One of the things that I don't want to dwindle or lose is my faith, so I want to try to really give back to the community in college and work on my faith.
After the Pilgrims returned home from Rome, one of them, Victor Paredes, joined Katie Vasquez here on the desk, along with Bishop Robert Brennan, to speak about their Holy Year experience.
With Bishop, at least, I think the most memorable moment is when we walked through the holy doors with the cross and he was carrying it. So.
Great. And then Bishop, another young person I spoke with said that you offered comfort to the pilgrims. What did you get from spending time with these young Catholics?
I am always inspired and encouraged whenever I spend any time with any of our young Catholics. We had an impressive group of young people, 80 diocesan pilgrims plus another 20 from the Shalom community, and then we had a whole host from the neo-catechumenal way. What displays of faith. I mean, it was just incredible. Again, it was a hard journey. It was a tough journey, not a moment of complaint, but really a desire to come to know Jesus better, to experience his closeness. What I get is inspiration. I learn an awful lot from these young people, from their energy and from their desire to grow with Jesus.
What an experience for them. There's a lot more Jubilee moments headed your way. A big event for the Holy Year, one tens of thousands were waiting for, the canonization of St. Carlo Acutis. The young teen from Milan has inspired many around the world, including a young woman who has a personal connection to the first millennial saint. We have more sights and sounds from this Holy Year when we come back. Welcome back to this special edition of Currents News. We're looking back at the 2025 Holy Year, which included life-changing moments the Catholic Church and the people in the pews will never forget. Among them was the canonization of the first millennial saint. An estimated 70,000 people traveled to the Vatican to celebrate Carlo Acutis, eagerly watching as a young man from Milan became an inspo for people in Brooklyn and around the world. St. Peter's Square was packed hours before the canonization of Blesseds Carlo Acutis and Pier Giorgio Frassati. And just 15 minutes before the Mass, Pope Leo XIV appeared to greet the young people in attendance.
Volevo dire un saluto e una parola a tutti voi, perché se da una parte la celebrazione è molto solenne, è anche un giorno di molta gioia. E volevo salutare soprattutto tanti giovani ragazzi che sono venuti per questa Santa Messa.
During the Mass, the prefect for the causes of saints approached the altar alongside the postulators of both causes and read their biographies.
Il beato Pier Giorgio Frassati, nato a Torino il 6 aprile 1901, morì a 24 anni il 4 luglio 1925. Il beato Carlo Acutis, nato a Londra il 3 maggio 1991. Morì nel territorio dell'Arcidiocesi di Milano il 12 ottobre 2006. I suoi resti mortali sono attualmente venerati ad Assisi nel santuario della Spogliazione di San Francesco.
Then, for the first time as pontiff, Pope Leo pronounced the Latin formula, canonizing his first two saints.
Beatus Petrum Georgium Frassati et Carolum Acutis, sanctus esse discernimus et definimus, ac sanctorum cathologo ascribimus. Statuentes eius in universa ecclesia, inter sanctus pia devotione reculit debere.
St. Carlo Acutis' entire family was on hand, including his mother and his two siblings, twins who were born 4 years after his death. His brother read the first reading in English.
For the reasoning of mortals is worthless, and our designs are likely to fail.
In his homily, the Holy Father encouraged young people to follow the example of the Church's newest saints.
I santi Pier Giorgio Frassati e Carlo Acutis sono un invito rivolto a tutti noi, soprattutto ai giovani, a non sciupare la vita, ma a orientarla verso l'alto e a farne un capolavoro.
It wasn't just the family of St. Carlo Acutis that was invited to the canonization. One woman who took part in the celebration has a special connection to the first millennial saint.
Por el santo pueblo de Dios, para que acogiendo con alegría.
That was Valeria Vargas Valverde, whose miracle, thanks to the intercession of the teen from Milan, finally helped Carlo reach sainthood. The young Costa Rican woman was saved from a nearly fatal head injury she got in 2022 after a bicycle accident in Florence, where she was studying. St. Carlo touched countless lives in the Diocese of Brooklyn, and thanks to one girl's interest in the first millennial saint, she now has a personal and physical connection to him.
Chloe, I wanted to say hello to you. I know you love Carlo very much.
That message, sent from the mom of St. Carlo, was delivered to a young Chloe Chavez. The Our Lady of Sorrows Catholic Academy student first learned about Carlo at her Corona Queens school when a relic of the future saint stopped there. She says when she touched the few pieces of his hair, he touched her heart.
I admire him because he's young like me, I can relate to him.
Chloe's family is part of the Neo-Catechumenal Way, a spiritual movement designed to deepen the faith of its members through ongoing formation. When a fellow Neo-Cat spotted Carlo's mother, Antonia Salzano, at a conference in Manhattan, she told her about Chloe, and Antonia sent her the special message. She also gave her a relic of St. Carlo, a tiny piece of his sweater. Chloe isn't the only one in the Diocese of Brooklyn hoping to follow in the footsteps of a saint. The diocese had its own official celebration for the canonization of Carlo Acutis. And as Currents News' Katie Vasquez reports from Greenpoint, plenty of young people are excited to see a saint just like them.
Just like the crowds gathered in Rome, young people came together at the San Damiano mission in Greenpoint to honor the day the first millennial saint was canonized.
You know, they are getting kind of their recognition for living their holy lives.
Grace Lugo has a devotion to now St. Carlo Acutis, who she credits with helping her through graduate school.
One thing about Carlo Acutis is that he is almost like this influencer for God. Even before we had social media, a lot of young people who are growing in the faith, a lot of it is because of online, it's because of social media, and he's kind of like our patron. He's like the one who did it first.
Mike DeLuise was elated at the canonization of St. Pier Giorgio Frassati.
Wow, he was a man of the Beatitudes. He was someone who served the poor. He was like a guy's guy, but always encouraging his friends to live a Christian life.
It's a special moment for the Catholic Church, canonizing two young men born within the last century.
Praise thee, Jesus Christ.
The Director of Youth and Young Adult Ministry for the Diocese of Brooklyn, Father James Caroli, hopes this group will be inspired and spread the word to others.
It's an inspiration for me to be able to allow them to really preach the gospel to myself, to other priests, to other adults. You know, oftentimes we're the ones that are out there teaching our young people when in reality they're teaching us.
There were also two relics of each saint on display, a small lock of Carlo's hair and a cloth belonging to Frassati. After Mass, Stephen Lee took time to venerate Carlo's relic.
I've been so inspired by his life, how much he's had an impact on everyone around him and for the church.
A Mass was also held at Our Lady of Hope in Middle Village to make sure both boroughs had a chance to pray for the newest saints. In Greenpoint, Katie Vasquez, Currents News.
The joy didn't stop there. In the Diocese of Brooklyn, there is now an official place you can go to celebrate the first millennial saint.
This is the official decree from the bishop establishing us as the diocesan tribe.
The past pastor of Sacred Heart of Jesus, Monsignor Thomas Michalski, read aloud the official decree recognizing the Bayside Church as the official diocesan shrine of St. Carlo Acutis. Bishop Brennan signed the designation and celebrated with the parish during Mass. After parishioners venerated a relic of the saint's hair, and Monsignor Michalski presented Bishop Brennan with a vestment from Rome featuring St. Carlo's image. Still to come on Currents News, although the Jubilee is ending, Bishop Robert Brennan urges the faithful to keep living as pilgrims of hope. Faith was alive in the Diocese of Brooklyn and beyond during the Jubilee season. We take a look back at a year of grace. The Jubilee may be over, but Catholic shepherds say the spirit of this holy year will still live on in the Pilgrims of Hope. In the Diocese of Brooklyn's official closing of the Jubilee, Bishop Robert Brennan gave this advice to the faithful.
We need God. We can't go it alone. The world needs God. We need God. I need God. I need God in the sacraments, in the Eucharist. Well, thank God for that awakening. We need God. Friends, the Holy Year 2025 concludes, but the pilgrimage of life continues, not just symbolically, but in reality. We are pilgrims of hope. We walk with God, and God walks with us.
And that is this special edition of Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Before we go, we want to take one more look at the journey the Pilgrims of Hope took all over the world throughout this Jubilee year. Hope to see you again next time.
You also approached the sacrament of penance and received God's forgiveness